Roo Redmond's journey began in Dublin, a city rich in culture but marred by socio-economic challenges. Born into a struggling family, Roo's childhood was punctuated by instability and hardship. His father was imprisoned when Roo was still a young boy, leaving his mother to raise him and his siblings on her own. The burden of financial responsibility fell heavily on her shoulders, leading to a household filled with tension and anxiety. In the rough neighborhood of Darndale, where crime rates soared and the drug trade flourished, young Roo quickly learned the harsh realities of life. His mother worked long hours to make ends meet, but the lack of parental supervision allowed Roo and his siblings to roam the streets. This newfound freedom exposed him to both the allure and dangers of street life. It was not uncommon for him to witness drug deals, street fights, and other illicit activities unfolding around him. As he grew older, these experiences began to shape his understanding of the world. During his formative years, Roo's responsibility toward his siblings became a defining aspect of his character. He often acted as a caregiver, a role he took seriously despite his youth. Yet, the weight of these responsibilities, combined with the harsh realities of his environment, created a sense of desperation in him. As he approached his teenage years, Roo began to feel trapped. He longed for freedom and a way out of his circumstances, leading him to seek solace in the very streets that were responsible for his family's struggles. By the time he reached his teenage years, Roo's life took a troubling turn. Influenced by the gangs that roamed his neighborhood, he began to stray from the path of a typical adolescence. Instead of focusing on school and forming healthy friendships, he gravitated towards the thrill of delinquency. He found himself in the company of older teenagers who introduced him to a world of drugs and crime. Initially drawn to the excitement of this lifestyle, Roo quickly found himself becoming a participant rather than a mere observer. His first encounter with the law came when he was arrested for petty theft. This brush with the justice system might have been a wake-up call for some, but for Roo, it only solidified his resolve to pursue a life of crime. He began experimenting with drugs, initially as a way to escape the mounting pressures of his life. This habit only deepened his ties to the underworld. By his late teens, he had fully immersed himself in Dublin's drug scene. The pivotal moment that transformed Roo from a troubled youth into a serious criminal occurred in 2013, when he was arrested for drug trafficking. Authorities seized a significant cache of heroin and cannabis worth €43,000 from his possession. The subsequent trial painted a grim picture of his life choices, leading to a 5-year sentence. During this time, he was exposed to other hardened criminals, forging alliances that would further entrench him in the drug trade. Despite the time spent in prison, Roo emerged from incarceration more emboldened than ever. The experience, rather than deterring him, provided him with valuable lessons in the art of criminal enterprise. He learned how to navigate the complexities of the drug trade, understanding the importance of loyalty and fear in maintaining power. Upon his release, he returned to Dublin, not as a reformed man, but as a burgeoning figure in the criminal underworld. With newfound connections and a determination to assert himself, Roo Redmond quickly rose through the ranks of the Dublin drug trade. He began to establish himself as a key player, dealing not only in drugs, but also in violence. He adopted a reputation as an enforcer, willing to do whatever it took to maintain his status and protect his territory. His rise was marked by several violent incidents that sent shockwaves through the community. Redmond's lifestyle was marked by ostentation. He flaunted his wealth and power, often posting photos on social media that displayed expensive cars, designer clothes, and extravagant parties. This brash display attracted attention from both law enforcement and rival gangs, but it also solidified his status as a significant player in the drug trade. He was living a life that many in his neighborhood could only dream of, yet it was built on a foundation of fear and violence. One of the defining moments of this era was his involvement in the Kildare feud, a brutal gang conflict that erupted in Dublin's underbelly. The feud saw rival gangs battling for control of lucrative drug routes, leading to a surge in violence and chaos. Redmond played a pivotal role, often instigating conflicts and orchestrating violent acts against rival gang members. His name became synonymous with brutality, and communities across Dublin lived in fear of his wrath. During this tumultuous period, he was implicated in several high-profile shootings. The most notorious of these incidents involved a gangland shooting in broad daylight, which left bystanders traumatized. Roo's willingness to engage in such reckless behavior marked him as a dangerous figure, a man unafraid to kill in order to protect his interests. His notoriety grew, and with it came increased scrutiny from law enforcement, yet he continued to operate with a sense of invincibility. As Redmond's power grew, so did the stakes. In 2020, his path collided violently with that of Barry Wolverson, a family man and father of 8. Wolverson was ensnared in the chaotic world of drugs and debts that Redmond operated within. The motive for the tragic encounter was a dispute over drug debts that spiraled out of control, leading to a confrontation that would end in murder. On that fateful day, Redmond and an accomplice approached Wolverson as he was pulling into a yard. The confrontation quickly escalated, resulting in Redmond opening fire without hesitation. The brutality of the act shocked the community as it was carried out in broad daylight with witnesses present. Wolverson's death sent ripples of fear throughout the area, highlighting the extent of gang violence and the devastating impact it has on innocent lives. Following the murder, a massive manhunt ensued, with law enforcement determined to bring Redmond to justice. The investigation uncovered a wealth of evidence, including eyewitness testimonies and forensic analysis. Redmond's reputation as a fearsome criminal could not shield him from the weight of the evidence against him. As the case developed, the media spotlight intensified. News outlets reported on the rising tide of gang violence in Dublin, linking Redmond to a growing list of violent crimes. Public outrage grew as the community grappled with the loss of Wolverson, who had been a devoted father and husband. The trial that followed captivated the nation, with many watching closely as the justice system sought to hold Redmond accountable for his actions. The trial of Roo Redmond was a dramatic affair, marked by emotional testimonies from Wolverson's family. They painted a picture of a loving father whose life was cut short due to the reckless choices of a man consumed by violence and greed. Despite the heartfelt pleas for justice, Redmond maintained a stoic demeanor throughout the proceedings, reflecting a troubling lack of empathy. The prosecution presented a compelling case, showcasing a pattern of violence and criminality that had culminated in Wolverson's murder. After days of deliberation, the jury returned a guilty verdict, convicting Redmond of murder. The judge, understanding the gravity of the crime, handed down a life sentence, a stark reminder of the consequences of a life steeped in violence. As Roo Redmond was led away to begin his sentence, the courtroom echoed with the emotions of the moment. For the families of his victims, there was a sense of relief, yet the pain of loss lingered. Wolverson's family faced a future forever changed, navigating life without a husband and father, while Redmond would now spend his days behind bars, contemplating the choices that led him to this point. In the aftermath of his sentencing, Roo Redmond's story serves as a cautionary tale. His journey from a troubled youth to a notorious criminal highlights the complexities of gang culture and the cycles of violence that perpetuate in disenfranchised communities. The impact of his actions extends far beyond his own life, affecting countless families and individuals caught in the crossfire of gang warfare. For many, Redmond's case has sparked conversations about the underlying issues that drive young people into the arms of gangs. The societal conditions, poverty, lack of educational opportunities, and familial instability play crucial roles in shaping the choices of at-risk youth. His story illustrates the urgent need for intervention and support systems that can help steer individuals away from a life of crime. In conclusion, Roo Redmond's life story is a poignant example of how the cycles of violence can ensnare individuals and communities. It is a narrative that reminds us of the urgent need for collective action to address the societal conditions that breed crime and violence. By learning from these stories, we can strive to create a future where lives are not defined by tragedy, but by hope and opportunity. If you found this video insightful, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe for more true crime content, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay safe.